Welcome. My name is Gena Timberman, and you are listening to Timber People, a podcast about people who, like timber, are strong, build and create, who gather us together like fuel that feeds fire. People who support structures of our community that uplift and protect. Welcome to the show. I'm really honored today to welcome my friend, Chef Kurt Fleischfresser.
Thanks for having me, Gena.
I've been looking forward to this opportunity. You are an internationally renowned chef, but also culinary rock star. And before the show, we were talking a little bit about what you've been doing more recently and have on the horizon. And I really want to share with the listener about your journey coming back to Oklahoma. Now, you're from Yukon, is that correct?
I graduated from Yukon. I kind of grew up my younger years in Minnesota, but we moved to Oklahoma and I graduated from Yukon High School, yeah.
Well, I'm from Mustang, so I had to bring that up. That was like the big rivalry in high school. But when I was looking through, and I've known about you for many years and admired your work and your influence here in our state and beyond, and I love to read. Something I did not know is that you started your implementing your love for cooking at Sullivan's on Reno. Is that correct?
Yeah.
I remember that place.
Oh, yeah. I actually got the bug there. And, well, I was actually at Oklahoma State. I was cooking in the cafeteria while I was figuring out what college was and becoming really good at pool in the bars at night. And I had a good path on college. I got a scholarship and stuff for not being smart, but I got a scholarship, and I realized how much I liked being in the kitchen. And then when I left Oklahoma State, I started cooking, and I just really enjoyed it. I mean, it's just I was eating it up. And I love the tactile nature of the profession, the touching, the smelling and tasting, and the people they're all characters and everything else. So I kind of followed that path. So I was cooking at Sullivan's, and can I tell a little story?
Absolutely. Okay, I love it.
So I read in Cuisine Magazine, I don't know if everybody remembers Cuisine Magazine, but it said the best restaurant in the world, if in the United States, if not the world, was Le Francais in Wheeling, Illinois. And so the chef was Jean Bachet, and they said they'd serve 75 people a night. They only do dinner, and they have 15 cooks in the kitchen. And I thought, man, there's three of us cranking out 350 covers a night at Sullivan's, and it just sounded so appealing to me. And I'm naive. I'm like 19. I borrow my father-in-law's VW Rabbit. I drive up to Wheeling, Illinois, and walk in the back of the restaurant Le Francais at 10 in the morning. And there's Chef Blanchet skimming a stock pot, goatee. And back then, not many people had goatees. So, and he's walked in the back door, and I said, Chef Blanchet, I want to be at some point, I want to be a great chef like you someday. And he goes, oh, c'est bon, and he sat me down in his office and everything. And so he goes, I don't have anything right now. He says, but I love your passion. And, with an accent, he's saying this. And he goes, let me call my friend. And he calls his friend Bernard Coutier, who trained under Paul Bocuse, Trois Gros Brothers, all the best chefs in France. And he's talking to him in French and blah, 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 blah. And he looks down and he says, cowboy boots, and then blah, 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 blah. So he sent me out to talk to his friend, Bernard Coutier. And then I quickly became part of the French culinary mafia. And it's the best thing that ever happened to me. My mentor got me through all this and beyond. So
I love to read about your experiences and where you've been. First, I have to ask you, where did you like to hang out in Stillwater? Because I'm an OSU girl, and I just have to know.
Well, let's see. Stan Clark's a great friend. You got to go to Eskimo Joe's. Back in the day, I was I hit them all, actually, when I was going to school. So
yeah, absolutely.
I had to make sure I nailed the 60-second picture at least a couple bars.
I loved my days at Oklahoma State, and I know they have a great heritage for preparing people in the culinary arts, and I'm grateful for that. And I know so many people across the state are grateful to you for elevating Oklahoma's food and dining experience, and being a part of the Centennial celebration and the Oklahoma Experience at Epcot Food and Wine Festival.
How cool was that?
It was so much fun, and it really brought together so many different suspecting and unsuspecting aspects of Oklahoma identity that, a lot of people have historically thought about like cowboy and Indian, and also there have been studies, from the Department of Commerce and Tourism, and there were times when many outside of the state didn't really have an opinion about identity. And just being a part of the Centennial activities and the food and wine experience with you and people like Chef Loretta Barrett Oden and respected community and cultural leaders from all around the state, and what we were doing to celebrate where we were at that time, and also thinking back on it and where we are today. That really, to me, was a moment. I will tell you one thing. You remember they gave us as a gift these giant knives at this one dinner that we went to. And I
Wait, I didn't get a knife.
Yeah, well, I know, but it was a beautiful knife they gave us at this dinner, and it was gorgeous. And I had to rush off to the airport at one point, and I hadn't opened the gift yet. And I'm going through, the security check-in, and they're like, you can't take this on the plane. They pull out this giant, beautiful knife.
Oh my gosh.
I was like, dang, I should have opened that in the hotel room. But it was really
Hopefully
wonderful.
You shipped it and kept it, right? You got it?
No,
my
somebody else
gosh.
wanted it, I'm sure. No, but in all seriousness, I really, it was so cool to just be a part of it, for one, and it was a lot of fun, but to witness people like you and others just really share with the world what we're about. And now, looking back, those were part of the building blocks to Oklahoma now having a level of food identity. And I love how you keep that traditional kind of what you expect for Oklahoma food, but you have this really eclectic style to your culinary ways. And I just think it's so great to see what you and respected others in your industry are doing to keep that where it elevated, and also to educate others for the future.
Well, Oklahoma is a very mutt state. I mean, we're such a
collision of cultures.
Oh, and I love it, and I thrive in that.
Right.
But I mean, it's funny you the Disney thing. So they invited me back several times. We were the first ones. We had a kiosk between Paris and Morocco on Epcot, and we actually were in the top 5 sales for the Food and Wine Festival at our kiosk, and of sales of everything, and like the food item, we were like number 3, and all this other stuff. And so they actually did that in years. They thought, well, if Oklahoma did that good, these other people, they did Peru, they did New Orleans, they did a couple other ones, and they never beat our numbers because we owned that, and we really had a lot of fun. And I remember the people working in there. They were every time we sold a buffalo burger, whatever. I mean, they were just having so much fun, and nobody beat Oklahoma on as far as the sales on that. And when we did the big tastings for 1,400 people, where you actually give an appetizer like size portion, 1,400, our lines were the longest. Everybody was like, "What's going on over there? I
remember that.
What's going on over there?" And that's what I want to do. I mean, I want Oklahoma to have a cuisine, and I don't want to serve people products that I buy from. If they come from New York, I don't want to sell them products I bought from New York or California or whatever. So that's always kind of been my goal, is just kind of make us unique in our own special way.
And owning that identity, as diverse as it is. And, I will say it's about the experience, like at Epcot, that, you really have, there was a time for years and years where it's like this exodus out of Oklahoma, like a perception, ill-perceived, that you had to leave Oklahoma to be successful in certain industries. And I love that you have taken experiences like what you gained at Le Vichyssoise in Chicago and beyond, Scottsdale and Las Vegas and internationally places in Singapore, Germany, Paris, and you still are accomplishing that, which I want to talk to in a moment as well for the listener. But you've taken those experiences and what you've learned, and you've come full circle, and really happy and proud that you and your family are rooted here in Oklahoma. You came back and put your roots into what we're doing here around our city and our state.
Oh, it's my home, no doubt. I mean, I'm Okie through and through. I wasn't born here, but I own it now, and I mean, I'm very passionate about it. And we've had, through the Coach House, I've trained officially 45 apprentices through the apprenticeship program, and internationally, I travel for the Southern United States Trade Association since 2020. A month in Singapore, a month in China, Hong Kong, and mainland China. And all I'm doing is selling the romance of our products we have here in the United States. And, that's my wheel well. I like having fun and cooking food. And, if I can, I'm going to Berlin, back to Berlin in February. And there's people that always come up and go, Fleischfresser. It's a very unique name. It means eating meat by ripping and tearing like a wild animal. So Germans remember it. It's like, are you going to change your name? No, because everybody remembers it. And so they'll come and they go, this is my favorite part. They come up and talk, get my picture, take their picture with me and everything else. And I love it. I love it. I've made so many good friends over there. This is going to be like my 32nd trip to Germany to cook food like we do in the United States. And, it's there's a way we do things, even though we're kind of a mutt cuisine. And but when I do this, I represent food from Puerto Rico to the Carolinas, to Texas, to Oklahoma. And, but I love that. I love that region. It's my favorite food. So it's really easy to do.
So the experience in February, tell us more about that.
Well, I go there, and actually I've taken Kevin Lee's gone with me, Paul Langer, chef at Vast, former apprentices, David Henry, my right-hand man for many, many years, who graduated through my apprenticeship program and was chef at the Coach House. And this year I'm taking Pascal Bouthillon, one of my best friends, Michelle's son, and he's in the culinary now, and he's super
that's
pumped.
Meaningful.
Yeah. Oh yeah. That's going the next generation. I was there the day in the hospital when he was born, and now I'm going to get to take him to Berlin and get that experience. So I'm pretty excited about that.
It's about cuisine, culture, and community, and that connectivity. And you talk about, experience and, being connected here. And it really is. I know that you're very close to that, the food, the dining, the restaurant, community. And it's always so fun to go into a place to see you and your friends together, holding court and visiting and sharing. And I listened to an interview that you had that you were talking about, going into restaurants where you kind of know people, you're like the restaurant norm, like cheers, Chef Kurt. And I love to see that. And it makes it really has its imprint on the ripple effects of how people like me and others who love to go to dine and experience places that you've had influence and impact over. And it's just great. It's great. It's important too for our community.
It's fun. Chef Jason Jones, I call him Sweet Biscuit, at the Western Concepts. And, that's when we go out, everybody seems to come up and go, hey, Kurt, Chef Kurt, how you doing? Everything else. And I took him to Berlin last year, and somebody came up to me out of the blue and said, oh, Chef Kurt, how you doing? And Jason goes, really? In Berlin? I go, yeah, nice guys are nice guys. I mean,
well, you seem to me, I know your reputation, has, has taught many people, and you're very humble from my opinion and what I've learned about you just myself. But I know that there may not be many people that know that you have represented Oklahoma internationally in competitions that really throw down the gauntlet in in your industry of
Well,
work.
the holy grail of competitions is the Bocuse d'Or,
Mm-hmm.
and they select 10 chefs from around the United States every other year, and they compete, and then they pick one person to send. And 89 and 91, I was one of those 10 chefs. So there was all these young famous chefs from New York and San Francisco and Chicago and everything else. And there was me.
Right.
And but I did it back to back. And the second, I did okay. I didn't win those, obviously, but the second time I did it, they wound up using one of my dishes to take to France to compete with, and they didn't tell me.
Oh,
and so I
I'm
went.
like, what an honor!
I went with
if
the
you
group.
known.
I went with the group, and they threw the pictures out on the table, and they go, "We're doing this duck with the truffle potato tart and everything else." I go, "Oh, that's pictures of my food." He goes, "No, that's Chef Jackson's." I go, "It is?" He goes, "Yeah, he's doing your dish." I go, "Okay, great."
You're like, "Okay, King."
Should have brought me in I could have helped you a little bit. I worked on it very hard.
You could have consulted.
Yeah.
But speaking of consulting and also educating and training, I know that that's an important core part of your history and experience, but something that's meaningful still to you today in your career and life.
Oh yeah. I mean, and it's the so many of the guys out there now, that I trained of the 45 are still here. Some are in Napa, some are in New York and everywhere else. But, Anna Banda's at Francis Tuttle, and she's training the next generation. And I'll coordinate with her on, the competition that's coming up. We did last year. I'll do this year too. That's just part of it. If you have to share, and, in this time when everybody's just watching TV and you need to bring it down to reality and interacting with people, and it's a chef life is not easy, so you have to really embrace it and love it, the highs and lows, and take the trash out at the end of the night, and
Right.
all that stuff. It's not all glamour like you see on TV, so it's fun to get those people involved and give them ownership in that. If they enjoy it, that's what I like to do.
Right. That's that mutual respect, that reciprocity. And, when you have it, you have a responsibility to share it. And I'm sure there are so many others alongside of me that agree with that too, that there's a great value in the fact that you do that. And I know that you have been recognized internationally for your education efforts as well, and that's really important to know.
It's kind of cool. I got a recognition from the Chaîne Rôtisseurs, the Médaille de Mérite from Briat Savarin, and there's only 4 chefs in the United States that have got it when I got it, and that was Julia Childs, Paul Prudhomme, another chef in Hawaii, and then myself. And it's for working chefs that actually are training people and still perpetuating the culinary. In France, a lot of chefs get it, but it was kind of unique that was part of that small group, which was kind of fun.
Right. It has to be really meaningful to witness someone that you have helped train or mentor to go on and to do really exciting, cool things.
Oh yeah, I mean, all of it, and exciting, cool things is all relative too. I mean, the guys that are on TV like Kevin, or guys like Chris Aiken that are at Trefethen Winery and that just nailing it, growing their own stuff. The local guys like Paul up at Vast. I mean, nailing it is in degrees. So it's fun to see those guys succeed and enjoy what they're doing, and that I had a hand in it. And all those guys are, went from I'm their mentor, but also their friend, and they'll drop stuff. And if I'm in Napa and I need some people to help me cook something, they'll get off on a Saturday night, which they never would be able to do. They'll come help me. So it's been good. It's been good.
Well, professionals like yourself and the Bouillons and my friend Lori Burson at Stella, to elevate the experience of the food and dining just the realities here in Oklahoma City that weren't always there, really is a gift to me and to so many others. And I had a really good friend. I have a really good friend who was married this summer, and there were a number of people who came in from out of state, that even people who were from Oklahoma who haven't been back in many years, and they were blown away by the quality of the restaurants, the food, the dining experiences, and just, I'd like to say the museum experiences, but I'm really proud of that. And it's a gift to our community members like myself that love to take pride in that and share it with others.
Oh, I mean, when I came, I just wanted there was the only fresh fish you could get, which maybe you couldn't get, but salmon. And then there was exotic vegetables or regular button mushrooms. So, I mean, kind of working with local people and trying to do what every chef in history has done is kind of get the local people involved and everything else and create a cuisine that create that culture. So I would say from when I came back in 87 to now, I'm happy with what I see, because now there's neighborhood restaurants, there's cool neighborhoods with all this stuff.
Right.
And I mean, I just, it's exciting to me. I mean, I like to go out to eat too. So it's been a lot of fun.
So I have to ask this: when you're at home, and what is your favorite, just in your space at home and with your family, what do you like to cook for your family? And, what do you,
I've got a few acres and I cut the different wood over there and let it age. And I like to cook on wood, and it's everything from anything outside of wood, from the vegetables to mushrooms to ribs or whatever. But I like cooking over live wood fires. So that's probably my favorite thing.
Oh, that's my favorite thing too, at least to eat from those who cook it. But I will also say, I know that you've had many relationships with the farmers and the process from the sowing of the sustenance to to preparing the food and to cooking the food and to sharing the food. And I think that's really beautiful and important.
Yeah. And it's hard though. I mean, so these people that, I mean, I've seen so many people come and go that had such good products and everything else, but they can't be the person that makes it, the accountant, the person that gets it on a shelf. I mean, it's a gigantic task. I mean, Made in Oklahoma does a great job of trying to harness and use some marketing dollars, but it's so complicated and so hard, and I see more dreams dashed in people trying to bring me product than trying to open restaurants, and right. Trying to open restaurants is hard, but that if you're trying to do something unique, and more power to you, and I'll support you, but it's hard.
I can only imagine during, speaking of hard, I can only imagine like during the pandemic, when you were either up close and personal watching, what was happening while everyone's treading water, like just, keeping everything alive, but nationally and internationally considering through your lens of what the challenges were, in New York or Berlin or in other countries. You had to be seeing that from a really interesting and lens that we people like me wouldn't really have that.
I really did, because I was still director of operations at Vast, and I was the only person up there, and I felt like Tom Hanks on that island. And I was also the chairman of the Oklahoma Restaurant Association, so I was dealing with Mayor Holt and governor, and I was in the governor's reopening committee, and it was almost there was a lot of pressure to make sure all these little independent places opened up. And I mean, one of the best things the government ever did was that PPP money, and it saved hundreds and thousands of businesses. And there's so many places that would not be open if that hadn't happened. And I'm not that guy. I'm not the, I refused to be on the executive board for the Oklahoma Restaurant Associates forever. and I saw a spot where I might be able to cruise in right behind Elliot Nelson from McNilly's and all those from Tulsa, and he's a sharp guy, a good friend, and I thought, well, I'll just get behind him and I'll ride that in, and then the pandemic hit, and I realized it was much better to be at the tip of the spear than waiting to find out what happened after it landed. So it psychologically, it was good to be right there at the front, talking to, working with Jim Hopper at the ORA and the governor and all his people and the mayor and all that stuff. So it was a tough task, but I was very fortunate to be in that position. So,
well, I want to say thank you for your warrior ways because, when things opened up, I guarantee that was one of the first things we were all looking forward to is going back into our restaurants and sharing and to just seeing our friends again in our community. So thank you.
Well, and I mean, I love to cook, but I eat out, most of the time because I like that camaraderie. I like that interaction with people and everything else. So, and
it's the energy.
Yeah.
Where do you see what you're doing on the horizon and beyond, like throughout the next year and through the next 5 years? I know that you're still continuing to mentor and to educate.
Yeah. I'm kind of focusing on the projects we have. The tasting room is my office, and I do cooking classes out of there, and we do wine dinners, and I do wine dinners at the Hutch. And, I just want, one of the things when I was at Vast, and I really am proud of what we accomplished at Vast, but, when all these guys are doing these fun pop-ups and everything else and collaborations, I'm like, wait, I'm not going to go out doing budgets and worrying about parking meters and all this other stuff. So that's why I came back to the Hutch and came back to our restaurants and do big fun parties in the theater. And so now it's, I'm doing what I love to do. So it's a great, great progression, because I've been doing this for over 45 years and, not everybody's as lucky to be able to, I'm not working on a line every night, but I still get to influence the menus and special events we do and stuff. So.
Well, we love what you do, so I'm happy that you love what you're doing. And I really just want to say that, I can't wait to learn more about your different projects in the future. If a listener wanted to learn more about any of your dinners or classes or anything that you're doing, what would be the best way for them to plug in and learn more about some of?
Well, definitely get on Western Concepts Restaurants and get on that website and the emails and the Hutch on Avondale, and then you can find out what the specials are, what the wine dinners are, what the cooking classes are. It's we just want to make sure everybody's having a good time, and my whole motto is, if I'm having a good time, probably somebody else at this event's going to have a good time.
I'm like, put me in.
And I'm always having a good time.
Sign me up for that one.
So yeah, getting on our websites there, or friend me on social media, but probably better to do the other one.
I've noticed you also have a good taste in music, so
Oh, I love music. I play it. I play my music all day when I'm prepping and in the theater, in the tasting room, but I watch shows sometimes because they have great music soundtracks and stuff like that. I love music. Yeah.
So it's great. Well, Chef Kurt, it's been a real pleasure and a gift to have you on the show. Thank you so much.
Always great to see you, Gena. Thank you for having me on.
Thank you. Always great to see you. Yakoki. Yakoki. Thank you for joining us. Timber People is brought to you by the Possibilities Podcast platform.